Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Trench Talk, episode 6. It's been an interesting journey to present these various topics once a month. Today's topic is what I've called brainstorming with SketchUp. It's a 3D modeling tool that is very user-friendly, interactive, but short of actually going to a job site and really looking at the details of construction, this is an excellent way to get a handle on how to approach a project. So without further ado, today's agenda, I want to give you some background information on a specific project we're working on. And this meeting today is an actual working meeting to try to develop the right strategy for this project. Introductions, we've got several panelists that are all stakeholders in developing the design. We're all familiar with 2D drawings. We're going to present some of those and the 3D model and how that can really help us visualize the challenge. And then the bulk of the meeting will be hopefully interactive dialogue with our stakeholders to really sort out the various aspects and repercussions of designing a particular way. And at the end, we hope to have time for some questions and maybe some answers. A little bit of background. First and foremost, we have to know the client's needs. And in this case, they have two structures, a main house and a guest house. We went through the load calculations, and I'll share the results of those. There are some structural challenges of how to route ductwork and piping and really think it through to best meet the client's needs. The process, one of the designers used a Revit AutoCAD program, developed some framing models that we're going to use. They were able to export it, and I was able to import it into SketchUp, the tool that I use. Certainly, I learned a lot going through that process. It was the first time I took an export from Revit and made it work in SketchUp to the point where it can be useful. And then we'll talk a little bit about the possible solutions to approach this. The mission today is to develop the best geothermal solution to provide heating, cooling, and domestic hot water. But before we get into the meat and potatoes, I'd like to introduce our panelists, each of which are stakeholders. We have Kevin and Josh Stack with Northeast Green Building Consultants. They're the builder on the project. I've got a team from Helco with many decades of combined experience, and I certainly welcome their eyes on the project to help shape the solution. Diana Gherkin with New Energy Works. She's the interior designer and facilitated the whole model development that we went through. And then myself, I'm the designer, but I'll admit I need the insight of the entire team to finalize a design. The load calculations we did on the two buildings, they're modest buildings, well built. So the main house would be a 4-ton and would need roughly 1,600 CFM if we went with a forced air solution. The guest house is a little smaller and would require a 3-ton solution. The site plan, first and foremost, it will be a geothermal project. And I just wanted to sort of illustrate some of the considerations you have to take into account when laying out your your loop field. And in this particular site, we've got a water well down here and a leach field over in the lower left corner. So just before we go down the steep grade, we'd like to put two 500-foot vertical bores and feed each building independently. 2D drawings, we're all familiar with 2D drawings. Certainly there's a good set of drawings on this project. And here's a floor plan, but we'll get deeper into the various drawings as we go through this. The solutions, the possible solutions, geothermal heat pumps come in a variety of configurations that allow us to approach a wide range of applications. Starting on the left, the Samsung Sycamore is probably my preferred approach. Very high performance, variable speed compressor, but the requirement of this approach is to have a duct distribution system throughout the entire house. And that's what is the challenging part of this particular project. As an alternative, if we can't come up with a good ducting strategy, the next alternative might be a Samsung variable refrigerant flow, or VRF, where we put the water-cooled condenser in a mechanical room and we run refrigerant tubing to feed several fan coils, either high-wall ductless or a variety of small ducted fan coils throughout the building. So that's an option. The third option is what we call our net zero. It's a water-to-water heat pump. So if we were to consider radiant heat, we would still have to have some sort of cooling distribution system, which might be high wall ductless fan coils, but with a hydronic coil and not a refrigerant coil. This particular heat pump, the net zero, has the ability to also do 100% of the domestic hot water built into the heat pump itself. So if we don't go with the net zero and we go with either Samsung or Geostar, the other technology we would employ to look at domestic hot water is either an air-to-water heat pump that heats the water in the tank, and as a secondary benefit, it would cool or dehumidify the space where it's located. Might be a mechanical room, a basement. So wherever it's located, it's using the ambient air as a source of heat to heat the domestic hot water. Alternatively, we could use a packaged water-to-water heat pump with a separate tank for storing the water, but then this heat pump could heat the domestic hot water. So we've got all these choices that we can consider for this project. And let's go to the model. But before we do so, I'd like to do a little round robin and make sure everybody's here. Let's start with the builders, Kevin and Josh. Are you here?
Yep. This is Kevin.
Very good. I appreciate you guys being here. Next on the Helco team, I see Shad Cook is here. Do we have either or both of the Matts?
Yeah. You got Matt Dennis.
Yep. Matt Slimsky is on site assisting with a commissioning of the heat pump system as we speak, so I don't think he's going to have the availability.
Very good. Well, two is a very good representation here, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. And Diana, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Very good. Let's jump to the SketchUp model that illustrates sort of the challenge if we rotate the model. And what I've stripped away are all the other parts of the system. Let me see if I can move my video pictures away, because we could turn on various elements here. We've got floors. We got some structural elements, plates, posts. So you can see the model gets very busy when we start turning everything on. But it's a very useful tool to start stripping away some of this and really see the challenges. Let's get rid of the beams. The floors, we'll leave the joists on. Post, rods, roof. So we're back to looking at the challenge we have. And before I go much further there, I do want to show you some of the 2D drawings. And in particular, the interior design development drawings, which I find very useful in trying to characterize the challenge of how to approach it. You can see these drawings were developed in a three-dimensional model, but really illustrate simply the floor plan. We've got a storage or a mechanical space back in this corner, perhaps. We've got a rec room, so it's a finished walkout basement approach to the building. On the first floor, it's a wide open floor plan, which presents the ductwork routing challenge. So that's one of the things we want to talk through. The second story is basically the bedroom, an office area, and a master bathroom upstairs. And getting airflow or ductwork up into the second story is going to be challenging. In order to do that, we have to find a location within the first floor that we could run a vertical riser up and then route the ducts into that second floor. And I believe this is the guest house. We're going to focus on the main house for this webinar. So let's go back to the model. And what I find the most challenging part is the way the floor joist interface with the support beams. And it's impossible to get air through that beam. So either we run a trunk down one side of the beam and build soffits. And if we were to go with a watered air solution, I feel the best location for the heat pump is back in the corner of this mechanical space. But with that, I guess I'd like to turn it over to perhaps Josh or Kevin to articulate a little more about the customer's needs and the space and the repercussions of a distribution system in the space.
Yes, I can add a bit of context, John. So we actually, this is a really interesting area where the model meets reality. In a different way, we actually frame that those two as drop beams. So there is interstitial space above those beams to go through the joist from north to south. It showed as drop beams on the architectural plans. And in talking with the designer at the site as we were framing it, he confirmed we could either put them into the floor or install them as drop beams, which we did, to try to create some space for the distribution system. So that's just one minor change where even the best 3D model always needs to be validated by reality in the as-built condition. So the client's goals, really grateful to be a part of this project because they're committed to full electrification of all systems, including domestic hot water, cooking, and even the fireplace will be an electric unit. So they really want to eliminate fossil fuel, really important to focus on carbon, both operating and embodied for the client. So geothermal is the natural choice from that perspective. And it really resonates at a broader level with state policy and the goal to electrify all low-rise residential homes by 2024. And it's really interesting because we've built all electric homes in the past, but when we start to test the system to install geoloops, which John can talk more about, the manual that refers to best practice setbacks, for example, from wells and septics and other infrastructure. It's really interesting to test the system after the pandemic really upended the construction world. Even 320 amp services are really non-existent in the world today. So as we look at all the issues of electrification, I know we're focusing here on the duct distribution for this particular house, which open floor plan, a couple of concrete shear walls also that don't show in the model right now on both 2 stories, solid concrete that also pose some challenges. But the client's goal is really a fantastic one to go all electric. And so we're trying to solve this distribution problem so we can achieve that for them.
That's excellent news. The use of the drop beams really hopefully opens up the path to run branch ductwork down between the floor joists. So I was glad to hear that. Any thoughts about trying to get air up into the second floor? And I can pull up a first floor plan if that would help. Let's see. I don't want the reflective ceiling. If we blow this up, are there any opportunities to get a soffitted vertical riser?
John,
That
I
would
think the area that's been allocated for the fireplace, since the client did go with a non-heated water vapor fireplace unit that really does not take up a lot of space, we could probably grab some area. That whole white space is dead space there. So the right wall, that gray is like kind of noting the CMU, and then really just framing from the interior wall, which is more of an aesthetic. So I think if we needed to grab some inches there, that does go up to the second floor, I believe. I think it gets a little bit smaller because that wall jogs in the bedroom. I think we have a little bit of overlap there.
Certainly transitioning from the vertical and getting a horizontal, we're going to have to, get air into this office space. So we coming across here, and ideally maybe a floor vent here. And perhaps one over on this wall or here. So if we go back to the model, the floor joists do run this way, and correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but is the model accurate as far as you can tell, Josh?
Actually, I saw Brian Blyer apart, John. I don't know if participants can join at this point, but Brian created the model for New Energy Works. So certainly I would love to hear his thoughts on it as well, because we do have some glue lamps in the floor and some other elements, John, that I don't see there. But certainly the second floor framing would be as drawn. So
I just want to clarify with the model, which we tried to follow the architectural details, and just to show the intent, the direction of the floor joist, I believe is accurate. But as far as the detail, like the drop beam and those such things, those were not necessarily modeled per like a framing plan. That would have been more detailed, I believe, in like a architectural drawing or the floor framing engineering. So this would be more of a reference only, but if you wanted to turn on the glue lamps, that should be in that structural layer, similar to, it was like that cyan color. Those I believe should show up.
Okay. I sort of put them in a separate category. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that would be them. So yeah, you can see some appeared, I think, below the second floor.
Yep.
Those would be our timber elements there.
And would they be exposed or softened in somehow?
Those are exposed, I believe, at those locations. Yeah, it looks like everything except for maybe this lower level kind of bump out area. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't think we had exposed timbers in that lower bedroom. So those might just be structural within the wall system.
Yeah, the
Okay.
only structure that's exposed is in the over in the laundry room. Laundry room, and a short piece that goes underneath the just outside of the front entry. Very small section.
Right, yeah, we don't have a floor cavity in that laundry room, so that does make that area a little bit tricky. That's that back corner of the lower level.
Yeah. So we're down at the lower level. I think the lower level and the first floor, based on having drop beams, should not be a problem from a ductwork standpoint. And let's talk about how do we transition from a vertical riser to getting branch ducts down through the floor joist. That's where I'm struggling.
So certainly I agree with Diana, John, that three-sided concrete, poured concrete shear wall at the master bedroom and great room is a really nice opportunity. And then when we hit the second floor with the primary closet there, certainly any sort of softening or deviation from the aesthetic would be most likely into that space, which could bring it to that office area. It's a little bit of a circuitous route to get there, but that would be a first thought.
Yeah, that's the softening that I'm picturing would be in the ceiling of the first floor.
Oh, okay.
Because if we bring it up here, certainly the ceiling details I've seen are pretty aesthetic, and I'd hate to put anything up there, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that.
Yeah, I think that's out.
John, can you show the framing on the second floor level? I guess what's holding up the second floor? From where we would be underneath with these soffits, so to speak. So just so that, okay, so the framing is going that way. Yeah, that's kind of closing us off there a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, certainly if we can get a trunk softened in underneath the ceiling of the first floor, and then do our takeoffs to go up between the floor joists, we can get access to most of the second floor. It's,
John, I actually do have a row of bookcases from that fireplace, but I don't recall if there is like a shear wall, like a solid column that kind of separates the space from, because I think that little bump out, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, if that's structural CMU as well, but the row of bookcases there going directly up from your mouse towards the back,
oh, up here.
that west side, yes. There is a bit of a soffit built in that could be used already for lighting, wiring, and for ducting. So that might help us in going the opposite direction of the floor framing.
So what's the depth of these bookshelves? They look a little
They're not-
small.
They're not too deep. Let me just confirm. I think they were around 12 inches, but that certainly, if it needs to be deepened to help with ducting, yeah, I've got them at 10 inches. But that can be flexible if we needed a little bit more. Trying not to encroach too much with that reading nook fitting the two chairs, but if you needed a couple more inches. Let me see the height here. It's about a foot. We do have, I don't know if Brian is on the line. I think we might have some timbers that die into that. That might be blocking our way at some locations as well.
I tried to make Brian a panelist. Let me just click and say allow to talk. So Brian, I think he became a panelist. Yes, he did. Brian, you should be able to speak if you unmute yourself. There
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hey, so basically there's a timber, you can see the two dark gray spots next to the stairwell. There's a timber that is on top of those two posts that does die into that wall on the right there.
These right here.
Correct.
So
Mhm.
is that in the model?
Yes, yeah, it should be. I think the grouping got a little bit
Yeah, I was
mixed up with the.
Oh, wrong one. Let me go up here. Boom, boom. Yeah, I may have turned some things off that I shouldn't
I think
have.
you can see it actually, that cross member right across
Yes.
the stair
Yep.
opening.
Yep.
That would be it. And I guess that does stop us. It gets us halfway there, but not all the way to the back wall there.
Get a better mouse. Oh. So this is the reading nook back in this corner, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that glue lamp is going to terminate into the the first floor wall, and then the second floor cantilevers out beyond.
Hey, John, this is Kevin. I know this is really getting involved, but we do need to recognize that owners did send out a note less than a week ago, I believe, Josh, that if we could find a way to disguise, potentially ceiling cassettes or ductless mini splits in a way that met their aesthetic, that they're agreeable. We've been kind of prompting them along that in this design that finding ductwork has been very difficult for us. So that's a complete turnaround. I think it surprised me more as much as it surprised Josh when we got that.
Yeah,
So,
that email actually prompted, grateful you set this up, John, because the quote from the email was, "We just need everyone's imagination." And so it's that integrative design process that I know New Energy Works and we follow that is essential to bring that collective wisdom to the table at this point. even in
So-
pre-design to bury it in the model when possible.
So I've got an idea and I don't know how well it'll work or not. I'm trying to figure out, can I sketch on this? And okay, here we go. So the second floor is somewhere out here. Would there be an opportunity? Oh, hang on a second. Can you zoom back in where that was?
I could try. Something like that,
Yeah, so I mean,
because we're not
With the
seeing
s-
your marking, so if you're drawing. at least
you're
I
not seeing the
don't.
annotation?
No.
I'm seeing
I-
it.
Oh, you
Yeah,
are?
I can see it.
Blue line.
I see
Oh,
it.
okay, yeah, I got it.
So
I'm
the
just-
second floor cantilever's out. Would there be an opportunity to build something here tucked into the corner of the CMU braced wall? Like a plenum, you'd have to insulate it as an exterior assembly, but I don't know as though you could probably hide that pretty well in the exterior of the house, maybe. Just to
Are those
go
frame timbers going out as an aesthetic feature to the exterior facade there? Josh?
not there, it would, at the exterior, there, that floor is just got a cantilever. There's not
That's
gonna
just
be a
gonna be
timber there.
just a flat facade, some trim or something like that?
You've got about 14 inches of space from the exterior finished wall to that cantilever, I think.
Yeah, John, your manual J calls for about 600, a little over 600 CFM to enter up into that bedroom, office, closet and restroom area. So obviously, if that's the only path we have to get up there, we're looking at probably about a 12 by 12 or 12 by 10 duct can probably get by and do it. And other than the fact that it is the absolute most, the longest route you could possibly take from the starting point of the equipment to the end point of the home. Other than that being a little bit of a concern, I'd probably want to ask for 12 by 12 just to lessen the static pressure. But that's what we're looking at to try to get a duct up into that second floor area, I would say, or some
Yeah.
equivalent.
And you could change the aspect ratio a little bit to maybe 10 by 16. Something along those lines.
Yep. Probably could even get away with 8 by 16 if we needed to. But then turning that, if you're coming up through a chase and then turning direction going lengthwise, and you may be better off getting to more of a square duct.
Yep, that's true.
If
But if we come up in this area, then we gotta elbow into up at the ceiling of the first floor.
we would have to actually penetrate the rim joists of the floor system there to get back in.
But-
I would imagine, nope, we'd actually be, I guess, going through whatever material you guys are running on the underside of those joists that are cantilevering out there. We would be penetrating that to get into the joist cavity and then laterally over to the office space and as we go down along that cantilever.
Yeah, I think we'd be below. I think that's, it'd be a little difficult. On
So,
the outside.
If the cantilever isn't an option, but we can get through to that soffit above the bookshelf, that might be another option. If that's 12 inches in depth, we can try to keep a 10 by 12 duct up through there if that's even feasible. But if that's all CMU, it looks like that's a pretty tough area to go by. Going back to the DX routing with some possible ceiling cassettes, or I was thinking one-way cassettes I've done in some higher end homes that with better success because they are a little more inconspicuous and kind of stay a little tighter to the ceiling, and it's just not where the eye goes all the time, as opposed to breaking up a wall per se. But I would imagine that the ceiling level of that second floor assembly is even harder to traverse things to, or to mount a one-way cassette in those areas.
Yeah, to illustrate a one-way cassette. We go here.
Samsung makes a sort of a smaller, compact sort of cassette as well.
And let's go back here. Are you thinking of?
It's like one of those Winfrey, yeah, one of those little minis right there. I mean, I don't know, is that a 2x2? It looks small. Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at the Samsung website. I believe that is smaller. They come from 5,000 up to 20,000 BTUs.
I'm thinking just the physical size.
Right.
If we're trying to be inconspicuous, I know that I know a standard cassette ceiling cassette is like a 2x2, and you know they do look a little utilitarian.
Looking for a submittal.
Yeah, and that's to the owner's revised perspective about how to conceal these with some type of woodwork or cabinetry or wood design. Because really one of the instructions they gave also that Diane has done a fantastic job with is not an inch of sheetrock anywhere. It's almost entirely wood.
So here's an idea. If talking about one of these cassettes, obviously, we can't go blocking the airflow, but could you build almost like I envision almost a wooden grate, a grid almost that can sort of, bolt up around it to where it's behind it, but it's still open enough to allow airflow, but you don't really see this unit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've definitely done that in the past, Matt. That's a great thought. We've used everything from decorative metal to wood that meets the manual D and other calculation requirements for airflow and CFM. We've certainly done that. So we could, think about something like that. And John, I actually emailed you and installed a photo of the two shear walls. You'll probably have it in your inbox. I don't know if it makes sense to pull it up or not, but they're actually poured concrete. We shifted from a CMU to install a better poured wall. And that three-sided shear wall does not include that small rectangular bump out area that Diana referenced. The one at the top, I think, John, the most recent one. Maybe not, but you should have a photo of what that looks like, just the concrete. Or maybe not.
Well, the important thing is it just doesn't, that jog is not there.
Right.
Board wall.
So the shear wall is continuous with the foundation wall, and on that three side, it's not that small rectangular bump out is not part of that concrete shear wall. So that would be framed in wood. That would give us an opportunity to hide ductwork inside of that chaseway.
Yeah, I'd have to look around for that photo, but I remember seeing it, these solid poured pillars, which I've never seen before. So
that's the other shear wall by the kitchen. That was actually also poured solid concrete, because it was really the only way our masonry contractor could pour that. There was no way to get formwork inside of the rectangle at that location. So that is a solid 2-story concrete shear wall.
Yeah. So the important thing here is the where the bookcases die into on the lakeside, not towards the reading nook on the lakeside part. That's not there.
Right.
What?
So
The sort of
the
bump
owner-
out?
Correct. So if the owner imagines that it is there, that's a potential space for us.
Huh.
Yeah, we currently are showing it in the rendering as like a stone veneered piece to kind of match the column in the kitchen. So we could keep that visual aesthetic and kind of utilize that space.
And that would be, I think, great from a vertical riser standpoint. But once you get up to within 8 inches of the ceiling, we have to go, I think, left and right to some degree, or north-south in this case, in some sort of soffitted trunk that allows us to go out these floor joists and these floor joists. I'm still picturing some sort of soffit on the first floor.
Well, John, I think we have the opportunity based on that information that would be considered whatever we want to make out of that bump out. Could be a shaft way to bring ductwork up from the basement up, or a passageway through, as John is saying, underneath the first floor framing, to get from that shaft way that's behind the fireplace. But between, if we're looking across that, I guess, tri-fold door or sliding door in the, that goes out into the screened porch there. Basically, that line right across there is where the framing is changing in the bedroom. So the joists going to and from in one direction, and then they go a long way across the whole building once they pass that wall where that screen porch door is, correct? So if we were able to get into both of those areas, we can service, something along the outside wall of the master bedroom coming from a shaft that's on, I guess, the bottom of the page side of that transition in the framing. And also with a shaft coming up on where the joists are going across the building long way side of that shaft. So if we had two ducts there, we could potentially get up and get a duct closer to that outside wall in the master bedroom, and then go along the top of that bookshelf with a already what would be a soffitted area.
Yeah, certainly the floor joists in this area are not going the right way for us running branches out here.
Yeah, you won't be able to get out there, but you can get one in the corner there,
You can
perhaps,
get one here.
possibly along the side of the bedroom there.
Yeah, if the soffit on the first floor sort of ran from at least here to here.
Well, let's go back and take a look at the vertical. So that entire white area behind that is sitting in the middle of those walls would be free area for us to use. John, over.
Well, this one.
Yeah. So that splits that transition of framing in both directions. It's just a matter of if that's masonry construction, it's going to be difficult to get anything over there and go into some joist cavity, I imagine.
I do have just to the left of your cursor, that's also a bookcase area with a soffit. So if that is able to kind of connect then to the other row of bookcases, that soffit, it'll get you over to where the window starts, is where the glulam beam kind of stops us from continuing. That might be as far as we can get without a really kind of very low soffit that would go under the glulam beam there.
Are you talking about, say, from here? Can we go any further?
It just kind of steps back there, like over the fireplace. So it's kind of, yeah, and back in that area. So it kind of have a jog into that poured concrete area.
Let me say, make it so we can see it.
And I do have the 3D model from Revit with rendered view and everything. If you wanted me to share that for visualization, that might help.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. I think I will.
And I think I just need to get you to enable screen share and I can pull this up.
Let's see. Interesting.
It's usually like a little carrot by the screen share.
Let's see, screen share. Oh, yeah. Don't panelists. All panelists. There we go. Let's
There.
make that
Perfect.
works. Oh, yeah, this model is much better than mine.
Yeah, this is the pretty picture. So I took Brian's model, similar like we exported for you, and I kind of imported it and retraced it in Revit to add all of the textures and kind of outfit the interior. So this hopefully clarifies. This is what I thought was going to be a sheer wall. So we've kind of skinned that in stone. So we can act like that's still there and utilize that space vertically, and to hopefully transition from this fireplace area over to the bookcase area. But this glue lamb obviously is stopping us. And even
Gotcha.
kind of going under it, I don't see working well, because then you're going to be at the window.
Yeah. What are those little black rectangles?
Those are lights, so they're just like a picture light. So I'm figuring some sconces there, but we might be able to do something low voltage that could be surface mounted if you need that entire space for HVAC.
Yeah, certainly the depth of that stone facade there. If we could come all the way out to the front edge of that
Mm-hmm.
and go left and right to the laminated beams, that might get us enough.
Gotcha.
Chad, your thoughts?
Yeah, so you're asking her to take that wood colored soffit there and bring it out to the face of that stone and then run it across that gray wooden feature to marry up with that other facade there?
If I had my druthers, yes.
Well, we might as well ask for it, John. I mean,
Would it be able to step back into this space, since this is all pretty much open framing behind here as well? Or is that kind of jog back in this space not really too feasible?
I guess it all depends on how that stone wall is framed and how much room is actually in there to work with, I guess.
Sure.
So right now it's not framed, so we have the ability to frame it to meet the intent of what the size of the ductwork is. I just see going from LVL to LVL, stopping over that fireplace is a potential issue, but that's not an interior design either.
Right. If anything, I would probably carry it all the way across to the corner, although it's not my preference aesthetically. But if this is essentially open, just as a soffit. This also, there's no actual flue or fireplace mechanics in here at all. So this is really also an open framed space.
And the second floor is cantilevered even beyond that?
Yes.
Or-
Yes.
Can you show
Over
that
to the
second floor?
left of this stone pillar here, that's where it's cantilevered.
Can you show the second floor, Diana?
I can actually show a section view if I pull up my Revit. So you can kind of see, this is the area we were just looking at, the bookcases with this little solid black area being that soffit. And then this is the cantilever of the second floor beyond. So we're showing about 14 inches or so from the finished face to like the back of sheathing. It's kind of an open cavity here. And I'm not sure if this is accurate with this being like a 10-inch joist. I'm kind of assuming some of the dimensions here that were not important for my 3D rendering.
But the joists are in that same direction. So going in and out of the page would be conflicting with the floor joist. So we got to be below the floor joist.
I thought up here they were running, I don't have the framing plan in front of me.
They're left to right.
They are left to right here.
Yeah, yeah. But if we go down into that,
Right, so
Uh,
then I'm following what you're saying there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dan,
if we,
could you show the floor plan of that wall? Kind of like the same thing you did on the first floor? To see
In
it.
the 3D, the rendered view?
Yes, please.
Sure. So this is bedroom, closet here. I think we could definitely put some venting in the toe kick of any of the cabinetry that we see.
Yeah, might have to keep the pipes from freezing.
Where's the,
Yeah.
where does that glue lamp from underneath, is that right at that wall where the bathroom is?
Mm,
Come into this bathroom some from the underneath.
It is about
It lines up with the stair.
kind of in the middle, actually, of this bathroom.
Yeah,
you
So we
could
might
get-
be able to get something in that first vanity cabinet of that bathroom.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Mhm.
we could put an electric heat mat in that shower floor. You know, give more heat to that space. Wouldn't necessarily help with the cooling, but I don't see that as being an issue in the bathroom.
So John, it looks like we could get something in that toe kick of the vanity.
yeah, certainly the floor joists are running the right way there. But we can't get beyond the laminated beam.
Well, can you go back up the second floor again, Diana?
Sure.
My thought, so this is out of the box, is stepping that plenum up on top of the floor, running it to the vanity. Then as you go out, there's a closet on the opposite side of that wall, right?
Yes.
So through the closet,
Yeah, we have the closet,
much
window
like,
above, but nothing really down below.
much like we do a shoe rack or something, a built-in shoe rack, we'd elevate it up. In this
Yep.
case, it'd be going above a plenum. And then over to the bedroom,
Yes.
there's probably nothing. And then
There's no built-ins. That's just showing some furniture here.
geez, can we get up into the wall space and
Down
throw-
below or,
Or right from there and throw heat from above on that space somehow, if we framed it properly for
yeah,
alcohol to get in there?
Prefer that wall out because that's the three-sided shear wall behind the bed, right? So if we just brought
yes.
that wall forward enough to get ductwork into it, we'd lose space inside of the room, but it'd be one way to maintain continuity of the ductwork distribution from the basement level if we hit that and went up.
Yeah, this could certainly, either one. I think this is already shown as a 2x6 wall. And then we've got this space as well.
So it's inside the closet, so we can build that wall out there
Mhm.
into the closet space to hide it. I'm not sure if that helps us, kind of.
That wall is going to be free and clear, correct? There's no like hidden doors.
We could make it free and clear, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it seems I'm hitting a dead end there too, though, unless you guys can come up with something.
Yeah, certainly your shoe rack idea allows us to go north and south here. But
Would they allow like a soffit to go over the bed with downlights or something like that? So we went up that wall and crossed over? Is that a design element that we could?
Might be tricky with the angle of the ceiling. I do want to just show here, this is kind of overlaying the main level outline of the exterior wall.
Yeah.
And the cantilever. So we're looking at, it's not going to be the back part of the
Got it.
the closet there unless we can get up, I guess, right in this area. This is kind of that stone column that is now no longer a column. That could be our duct space that could come up into the closet here.
I think if we're just trying to hit that bathroom heading in that direction, certainly a 6-inch round duct can satisfy that, or some other similar size of free area to get over to that vanity area. We can do that in the soffit above the bookcase, probably. Maybe even start off a little larger and have one head over through the joist space to catch the other side of the office area on the way.
Sure.
But then coming up to serve the bedroom, so trying to get air to the bedroom, throwing air from the floor in a corner of the bedroom is obviously not ideal. You can only do so much with directing the airflow, but if we were able to get a sidewall,
Yeah. So what if you went up high, Matt, and then went right across the backside of both those closets? So left to right here, and through air from the height right where John's cursor is right now there, and then over the other closet door there. What if the soffit was on the backside of that wall assembly? And we threw air at that front wall.
So soffit in the closet essentially.
Yeah, coming right across. John, drag your cursor to your,
Well, I think it's Diana's cursor.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
where? That's all right. Where do you want to look?
Oh, go right across that
Over your
wall. Follow the planks.
Oh,
Yeah.
all the way across to the
Yeah, what-
office.
Yeah, so what's on the backside of that wall that we could hide something where it's
There's-
not so noticeable?
Yeah, I think it's right in the office, so I think that would work
Yeah,
to put something up here.
I mean, I think if all this is gonna come into play, then the unit's gonna get moved to the closet in the basement and go right straight up. It's not gonna stay over in that storage space. So we're gonna go right straight up to top, and then what we're talking about, utilize the space on the first floor that we discussed, and then figure this one out. But I think that unit's gonna have to take the closet in the basement. It's a big closet, so I think we can go right into that and fit your stuff in there, John.
Okay, let me take a peek.
Maybe just remove the sewer ejector from that closet.
Yeah,
Good.
with the linen closet, we can move over to if we need to.
So it's part of the laundry room then, I guess.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
stop
good.
share and give this back to John, if that's all right.
Yeah, there's a bedroom in the basement. In the lower level, the walkout, it has a large closet right beneath that space. All the spaces we're kind of discussing here in the same general vicinity, where the ductwork could almost go straight up. And again, I'm just thinking outside the box here. I don't have a plan or anything. Any thought of, so you go to the lower level. Yeah, I think you are there, right?
Yeah,
See the big
So-
closet and the bump out where the shear wall is?
closet.
Where the
Uh,
three-sided shear
right
wall,
off, right
John,
off the bedroom. See the toilet?
the lower right.
Down, down, down.
Down,
Yeah, see that big closet there? Yeah,
this one.
yeah. And see how it's blocked off already? I'm not sure why, but
It looks like we could shift that too, if we wanted to utilize the space to the left of the door opening for HVAC, because that more aligns with that kind of vertical area that we were talking about for the first and second floor.
yeah, it's my thought. I'm thinking because based on what Matt brought up, and I agree, the unit's way too far away to go way over here for the ductwork up, and then doubling back. So if
Yeah,
our
you
starting point was
If
in
that-
that closet and we went straight up,
Yeah, at
Well-
that point, you're talking multiple pieces of equipment then, Kevin, right? Which is probably not a bad thing either if you've got 3-story structure to try to keep temperature control in.
yeah. And
Agreed.
they've already, I think we asked the question that they don't necessarily need a tub. They can use just a shower down in that bathroom. So to me, that means that space is up for grabs before we get it roughed in. So we're close.
Also, I'm showing kind of a 2x4 framed out wall with 1/2 inch finished face inboard of that poured concrete, but I don't know what kind of insulation you need there from the interior. Like it might not be accurate to the closest inch or two. We might be able to grab a little bit more depth there, depending on how that whole thing is insulated.
Planning on
Yeah.
3 inches for an R15.
On the interior of the concrete wall?
Preferably because if we're going within natural stone outboard, Diana, we'd like to apply that directly to the concrete if possible. But
Gotcha.
certainly we could, you know,
Yeah, we need the standing board.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a
My-
photo of that shear wall, John. If you wanted to see it, the one I tried to send you, I could pull it up quickly. I don't know if it's helpful at this point or not, but
Well, before we go much further out, I always have reservations about putting equipment next to bedrooms. Although we tout how quiet they are, it just seems like we're asking for trouble.
try to acoustically isolate it a bit. I mean, there are drywall methods that do that. They're a
Yeah,
little,
we got the doors that are gonna give us trouble.
yeah.
I mean, this is so this is you know, 2 people, no kids, so this is like a guest bedroom, I believe. That are gonna be staying there, at least, I should say.
Guests don't need to sleep, right?
Well, it's white noise, right? White noise.
Yeah, certainly. If we,
I think we just need to get closer and use multiple pieces of equipment to manage what we're attempting to do here.
it gets us away from what I consider the ideal piece of equipment, the Sycamore variable speed. The smallest unit there is 3 ton. If we added another 1 ton unit that could go here, that could handle just the second floor, that might work. And we go with a 3 ton variable speed to handle the lower level and the first floor, all the lower level from the ceiling and the first floor up from the floor. So we could put a small 1 ton or 1.5 ton vertical unit here. And they're certainly a little quieter, being smaller. So, and supply air is only half the equation. We got to find return air paths as well.
I think, Diana, if you have a Revit model and could share that with, sure John can get you, I think my email address was probably on the invite. If you can share that with me, we've got Autodesk, the latest version 2023 or whatever, 2022, but I'm thinking we can maybe dissect that a little bit more.
Yeah, I can definitely send this to you. Just the caveat that it's been modeled more for aesthetic purposes, based on like the exports and framing and all that. So I haven't verified to the inch and all that for some of these wall changes that have happened as well. So I just wanted to clarify that. So it's mostly from aesthetics, but I've been kind of in and out of this model to find these pathways. So I'm happy to share it with you.
And then, yeah, unfortunately I've got to leave, but if John, if there's any way you can quickly pull up the picture of those shear walls, that might find out if everything we just talked about is reasonable or not.
Josh, can you send it again? It might be the quickest way.
Sure. Or
John,
can
why
I
don't you
share
just share your screen?
I can. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, if you stop the share, John, I can pull it right up. And I saw Dan had a question too about a system that I'm not familiar with. So it's asking me to allow the share, unfortunately. So I may not be able to.
well, I think all the panelists should be able to share.
It may be one, there we go. I think I got it, John.
All panelists, yeah.
Let me see. I think it's one of my Zoom system preferences, unfortunately. I did send it to you twice though, so I don't know that,
I saw a couple emails fresh in your inbox there, John, when you just had your screen shared from Josh. Just in the last hour.
Oh,
yes,
There
it's
we-
not allowing me.
there
to
we go. I got it. Let me take back sharing.
You want to send those Diana too, Josh?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, this is great.
yeah, I can't make it much. Well, yeah, I can. Hold on. So there you go.
That's a solid pillar now?
Yes.
It's a place I'm standing next to if there's an earthquake, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very great. Very grateful for our mason. He does a beautiful job.
Yeah, so that fireplace wall that's that three-sided cove shear wall over there then, huh?
Yes.
Gotcha.
How much further along are you now, Josh?
First floor deck is on, and I believe the new Energy Works team today was setting first floor walls. Should be done with first floor walls tomorrow, I believe.
Well, I think we've made some good progress today, and I appreciate your Shad, your volunteering to look at the Revit model and help the cause that way. And I think that I'd like to follow up with a site visit to really see it, and maybe when you're just a little further along with the framing.
Hey, John, I had a wild idea.
Oh, good. I like wild ideas.
I'm just sitting here thinking, and I remember something my LG rep told me one time. Thinking about just, obviously the challenge of the ductwork, if we were to look at some sort of mini split or ductless type options, what if we took that, because obviously it's an aesthetic issue. What if we got somebody that can do a really good job and put a high quality wrap on these things to make it look like wood, make it blend into the wall and the ceiling?
That's interesting.
I Googled it. I found one picture. So somebody's done it. But it doesn't look half bad, but I'm thinking you could take a sample of that board that's used, that's on the finish, and give that to, just the company that does the wrap job on our vehicles could probably print that and do a really good job of wrapping the plastic cover over the heads to sort of camouflage it a bit. It's an idea. You want to
To
creative,
me,
right?
Yeah, I love creative ideas. I would turn to Diana and Josh a little bit to weigh in on something like that.
Well,
I think
even if it doesn't work here, it's obvious that a lot of people frown or say no to what they look like. So
Mhm.
it's a good idea going forward in any way.
Yeah, we saw one actually in a project in Skinny Alice. They did a really nice job with the faux finish on it because it was a very large unit for a very large boathouse space, Matt, and it looked that decorative painter did a really nice job with it. It wasn't a wood finish, but it was like a decorative plaster finish. It looked nice.
I'd almost default to try to hide it within a wood structure first before putting the mini split on the wall. Or maybe it's some kind of like a perforated metal framed out piece that kind of shrouds it. But I do think it's a good thought to try to hide it in other aspects. It's just tricky with there being so much real wood everywhere that the texture is going to be off. So I feel like trying to imitate the wood is, just from my perspective, going to draw your eye
Yeah.
in an odd way. But
But Matt, you were talking about putting a textured finish on this grill,
Yeah.
as opposed to the high wall ductless.
Yeah,
Which-
obviously, this would be much easier to hide, obviously, and especially if we're talking about a ceiling cassette, then you could just build like some sort of lattice or something around it to sort of blend it in.
Sure.
Maybe hide a light behind it or something, make it a decorative fixture.
I think- Yeah, Matt, what you got to consider, everybody's got to consider here is the space we have in framing without having to box out areas. The probably the one-way cassette would be the only thing, even if that is less than 14 inches in width, John. I know most of them are intended to fit within a natural joist space,
But they don't. I learned the hard way. Yeah, so we would have to, when we put the second floor deck on, space the joists appropriately if we're gonna be doing this.
Well, I think I've kept you all here past quitting time. And I think the next step is for me to work with Shad and with the Revit model and come back with some sort of plan based on all your input today. Sound good?
I'll try to get a Dropbox link to you for the Revit model because I know it's too big to email. So I'll try to get that out to you efficiently.
I appreciate it.
Very good. Any last comments from anybody?
No, just thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I would say thanks to Helco and New Energy Works to join at the last moment and jump into the design session.
Yeah,
This is great.
this was all inspired about 24 hours ago. So
Collaboration, one of my favorite things to do.
yep. Very good. Thank you all for participating, and we'll look forward to moving this thing along.
All right. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.